Now what will it be? Death or exile?
Welcome to another spoiler-free Exile review. My name is Chris, and as you have probably guessed, I'll be reviewing Martin Scorsese's latest film, The Irishman. This is the first time Al Pacino, Joe Pesci and Robert DeNiro have been in the same film, and it is also the first time that Al Pacino has been directed by Martin Scorsese. Scorsese has famously worked with De Niro and Pesci many times, both individually and as a pair, so seeing Pacino join them all for the very first time was a real treat. I was lucky enough to watch this film as it premiered on the final day of the London Film Festival, and we were treated to some interviews from the red carpet. In those interviews, Scorsese stressed how close he, De Niro and Pacino are on a personal level, and that actually he almost worked with Pacino in the past on an adaptation of the life of famous painter Amedeo Modigliani. Sorry to my Italian followers. Going into this film, my expectations were sky high. Those who know me know that Martin Scorsese is in my top 5 favourite directors of all time. And my lord, he did not disappoint. My expectations were high, but they were surpassed. The Irishman is an epic Italian mafia crime drama based on the 2004 memoirs of Charles Brandt, I Heard You Paint Houses. There's actually many nice references to the title of this book throughout the film, most notably when the film starts. The film details the life of Frank the Irishman Sheeran, Union President Jimmy Hoffa, and Mafia Don Russell Bufalino. We see how the Irishman, portrayed by Robert De Niro, gets brought into the Italian mob, and see his relationship with Pesci's character Russell grow throughout his life. We are also transported from the past to the future to the present seamlessly, and that's a testament to the incredible screenplay by Steven Zaillian. Nothing feels forced or out of place, it was just very, very seamless. We eventually see Frank the Irishman, through his induction to the mob, introduced to Union boss Pacino's character Jimmy Hoffa. Through the course of the film, we are shown how politics, the mob and corruption go hand in hand, and how that can lead to the undoing of governmental and mafia figures alike. And we see all this in the light of highly significant historical events such as the Bay of Pigs and the Kennedy assassination. This film does not glamorize the mafia lifestyle in a way that Goodfellas did. This is not like Goodfellas at all. So if that's what you're expecting going into this film, you need to readjust your expectations. This film's a melancholic look at how power absorbs and corrupts, how in the face of being subliminally told, if you keep doing what you're doing, you will be killed, it just isn't heard. It delves into how when stripped of all this power, the lives of these people are almost empty. You almost want to empathize with them, and this film tests you as an audience because it constantly reminds you of how these people really are with these despicable acts, including murder, intimidation, extortion and more. This is a testament to the actors. This film has an incredible cast, but honestly, you simply cannot look beyond the big three. My favourite performance was from Al Pacino. This man just brought it in a way I don't think I've seen since Any Given Sunday. There wasn't a moment that he was on screen where I just wasn't in awe. It was incredible. De Niro carries most of the film. He's the narrator, and that narration is almost constant throughout the whole duration. I'm not even sure I've seen narration to this degree in a film before, though it's probably possible, it's just slipped my mind. Joe Pesci came out of retirement for this film. You really wouldn't have known it. He breaks the fourth wall as well once, which is pretty funny. And actually there's quite a lot of interesting choices in this film along similar lines. The film's freaking hilarious, and it's done without having to resort to crass 12-year-old boy humour. It's just all done with class and style. The humour is done right, and it's just so successful because of the comedic timing, especially of De Niro and Pacino. Another humorous thing is when a new character appears on the screen for the first time. The film kind of pauses, and you're informed of their of how they die in the future. So it will say, for example, such and such name died in 1980 from 6 gunshots to the face. It's a running gag throughout the film, and even though you kind of expect it to come at certain points, it's still friggin' funny. Moving on to the technical aspects, the soundtrack score is particularly good. This film does have a mix of soundtrack and score. The first act of the film heavily focuses on the Irishman's induction into the mafia, and you always get this melodic music that's heavily inspired by the Godfather theme. And when I say heavily, I mean heavily. As we progress through time, we get to like more contemporary music of that time, and it kind of puts you in the mindset, as well as seeing the characters age and de-age. You get like that whole aura of those different eras, and it's really competently executed. So I kind of touched upon the jumping through time. The aging and de-aging technology in most instances was great, and especially with Pacino and Pesci, it was absolutely flawless. Where I feel they struggled to reach that level of perfection was with younger De Niro. Not that it was bad, because it wasn't. What I'd say is, I think it's perhaps because I've been more exposed to De Niro films, or to De Niro as an actor, in that late middle-aged period of his life. So Joe Pesci's been off the face of the earth for the past 20 odd years. Pacino's not been in that many films in the last 2 decades, but De Niro has kept up appearances. So I'm wondering if it's perhaps because I've been more exposed to him. If I didn't know who Robert De Niro was, and I'd never seen a Robert De Niro film from his, from when he was 45 to 65, I'd probably not even notice. It really is very good. The cinematography is interesting. There's quite a lot of interesting visual choices, some beautiful long tracking shots which kind of give a sense of expectation that something's going to happen, and then just some stone cold shots where the camera is frozen for a long period of time, during which we see the Irishman, Frank, being quite violent, and you can see one of these in the trailer where he shoots someone coming out of a restaurant. Now, this gives a real sense of discomfort. It gives you as an audience a real problem when easing the cognitive dissonance between liking a guy that you've been following through his journey in the film, whilst he's doing like god-awful things. So I've really got to give props to Rodrigo Prieto, who's done a fantastic job there. The editing is interesting as well. There's a couple of occasions where I feel like there's a few frames or a couple of seconds missing between cuts. I'm still trying to figure out if it's done intentionally or if they were just cut short for some reason and reshoots were too expensive or something like that. I doubt it's the latter. But it's just something I noticed, and I'd have to try and pay attention to see if those details reoccur when I revisit some of Scorsese's other films. It's not a problem, it's just something I think it's 2 or 3 instances where I picked up on it. So overall, I loved this film. I won't give it a score, but I'll rank it amongst some of Martin Scorsese's other films. Scorsese is a director who I probably controversially think has produced better films as time has passed. For instance, I love Gangs of New York and The Departed much more than I do Raging Bull or King of Comedy, for example. This is a great film that I will say I enjoyed at least as much as Casino and Goodfellas. It's one of my favourite Martin Scorsese films, and I encourage everyone to try and find a local independent cinema that will show it, because the big chains have refused to. It deserves to be seen on the big screen. It deserves the big screen experience, and I encourage everyone to see it that way. So that's my mini spoiler-free review of The Irishman, and until next time, stay exiled. Of the night.